There is a moment most men have experienced at least once and never fully understood. You are talking to a woman you genuinely like. The conversation is good. The energy feels right. Something is happening between the two of you. You can feel it, but you cannot name it. And then she leaves, and you spend the next 3 days replaying every detail, asking yourself whether you imagined the whole thing. You did not imagine it. What you experienced was real. What you felt was real. What she was communicating was real. The problem is that no one ever taught you how to read what she was actually saying. Not with words, with everything else. And that is exactly what this video is going to change for you today. We are going to talk about 5 real signs a woman is attracted to you. Not theories, not guesswork, not outdated advice from someone who has never studied how attraction actually works at a behavioral and psychological level. These are 5 genuine, observable, deeply human signals that women naturally display when they are drawn to someone. And once you understand them, you will never look at a conversation, a glance, a laugh, or a moment of closeness the same way again. Stay with me through all 5 because the last one is the signal almost no one talks about, and it is the most meaningful of all. But first, let us start with the real reason most men miss these signals entirely, because it is not what you think. Most people assume that men miss attraction signals because they are oblivious, because they are distracted, because they are not paying attention. And while that is sometimes true, the deeper reason is different. The deeper reason is that most men were never taught what attraction actually looks like in real life. We grow up watching movies where attraction is always obvious. There is eye contact. There is dramatic music. There is a slow walk toward each other. Someone says something perfect and the other person falls completely. It is cinematic. It is satisfying. And it is almost nothing like how real human attraction works. Real attraction is layered, quiet, inconsistent, and deeply human. It does not always announce itself. It sometimes looks like nervousness. It sometimes looks like someone suddenly finding a reason to be in the same room as you. It sometimes looks like someone asking you a question they already know the answer to, just to keep the conversation going. It is subtle. It is organic. And it is almost always deniable, at least from the outside. That deniability is by design, because vulnerability is terrifying, because expressing genuine interest in someone before you know if they feel the same way is one of the most emotionally exposed positions a human being can be in. So attraction signals are layered with protection. They are real but coded. They are there, but they require a certain kind of awareness to see clearly. That is the awareness you're going to build today. And before we get into the 5 signs, I want to say one more thing that matters. Understanding these signals is not about turning attraction into a formula or treating another person like a puzzle to be solved. It is about becoming more emotionally present, more aware, more capable of recognizing when something real is happening so that you do not walk away from it, or worse, talk yourself out of it because you were not sure. Clarity is a gift, both to yourself and to the person you are paying attention to. Now, let us get into it. The first sign is the way her attention keeps finding you. Attention is one of the most honest currencies in human connection. We live in an era of infinite distraction. Every phone, every screen, every notification, every conversation is competing for our focus constantly. In that environment, giving someone your full, genuine, uninterrupted attention is not nothing. It is actually rare. And when a woman does it consistently and specifically with you, it is significant. Here is what this actually looks like in practice. You are in a group setting. There are 5 other people in the conversation. Everyone is talking, and yet you notice that her eyes keep returning to you when something funny is said. Not to the group, to you. Like she wants to see your reaction, specifically. Like your reaction matters more to her than anyone else's in the room. Or you are telling a story. It is not even a particularly dramatic story, but she is listening in a way that feels different from how the others are listening. She is present with it. She is asking follow-up questions that show she was actually tracking the details of what you said. She remembered something you mentioned 10 minutes ago and brings it back naturally. She is not just hearing you. She is paying attention to you. Or she notices things about you that the average person would not catch. Your haircut, the fact that you switched from coffee to tea, that you seemed quieter than usual today, that you mentioned something weeks ago and she still remembers it. None of these things are accidental. They are the product of sustained, deliberate attention, which is the product of genuine interest. Psychologically, we pay attention to what matters to us. It is automatic and it is honest. We cannot fully control where our attention goes when we genuinely care about something or someone. She is not consciously deciding to remember every small detail you share. She is remembering them because you are already occupying mental and emotional space in her world. There's something else that happens with attention in attraction that is worth naming. When a woman is attracted to someone, she often becomes more aware of when that person is paying attention to others, not in a controlling or jealous way necessarily, just an awareness. She notices when you laugh at something someone else said. She tracks, even subtly, how you engage with the other people around you. This heightened awareness is a feature of genuine interest. It is attention turned inward, protecting something that already feels important. The key with this signal is to distinguish between polite, social attention and genuine drawn-in attention. Polite attention is distributed equally. It follows the flow of group conversation without preference. Genuine, attraction-based attention has a direction. It comes back to you. It lingers on you specifically. It seeks you out even in a crowded room. If you have felt that, if you have noticed that quality of attention pointed at you in a consistent, specific, non-random way, that is signal one. And it is one of the most honest ones. The second sign is what her body is saying when words would be too much. Body language is not a magic decoder ring. It is not a perfect science. And anyone who tries to tell you that one specific gesture means one specific thing every time is oversimplifying human behavior in a way that will lead you wrong. Bodies are complicated. Context matters enormously. A crossed arm might mean she is cold. Eye contact might just mean she is a confident communicator. But there are patterns. Real, consistent, psychologically grounded patterns that emerge when attraction is present. And they are worth understanding not as definitive proof, but as data points that, when they appear together, form a picture. The first body language pattern is proximity and orientation. Human beings naturally orient their bodies toward what they are interested in. When you are watching something engaging, your body faces it. When you are in a conversation that matters to you, your torso turns toward the person speaking. This is not a conscious choice. It is a physical expression of psychological interest. When a woman is attracted to you, you will often notice that her body stays oriented in your direction, even in situations where that is not required. In a group conversation, she angles toward you. When she is talking to someone else, she occasionally positions herself so that you are still within her peripheral awareness. When you are sitting near each other, she leans in rather than back. Proximity is the other half of this. People physically close to what they value. They create reasons to be near what draws them. And when attraction is present, you will notice that the physical distance between you tends to naturally shrink over time. Not in a dramatic, noticeable way. Gradually, naturally, the gap between where you are and where she is keeps getting smaller without either of you making a big deal of it. The second pattern is mirroring. This one is fascinating and also very difficult to fake. When two people are genuinely connecting, they begin to unconsciously mirror each other's gestures, posture, energy, and even speech patterns. You shift in your chair, and a few seconds later, she shifts similarly. You rest your chin in your hand, and she does something similar with her own hands. You slow your speech down, and she matches your pace. This mirroring happens below the level of conscious thought. It is an ancient social bonding behavior. We do it with people we trust, people we want to connect with, and people we feel drawn to. When you notice this happening in a consistent way, it is one of the more reliable indicators that genuine interest is present. The third body language pattern involves touch. This is nuanced and context-dependent, And it is important to be clear that not every woman expresses attraction through physical touch. Personality, background, and comfort level vary enormously. But when touch does appear as a pattern, it is significant. The touches associated with genuine attraction are usually small, natural, and deniable. A hand briefly on your arm during laughter. A light touch on the shoulder when making a point. Moving closer until your arms are almost touching and staying there. These are not dramatic gestures. They are quiet ones, and they are almost always accompanied by a test of your response. She touches you lightly and then watches, consciously or not, to see how you receive it. Touch in this context is a bridge. It is someone taking a small risk to create a small moment of physical connection and then checking whether that connection is welcome. The fourth pattern is self-presentation behavior. When we are around someone we are attracted to, we naturally become more aware of how we are presenting ourselves. A woman attracted to you may adjust her hair, check her posture, become more animated in her gestures, or seem more deliberate about how she is coming across. This is not vanity or performance. It is the natural result of caring about how you are perceived by someone whose opinion has started to matter. None of these signs alone is conclusive, but when you see proximity, mirroring, light touch, and self-presentation showing up together in your interactions with the same person, you're seeing a body speaking honestly in a language it does not even know it is using. The third sign is the nervousness that looks like disinterest. This one trips people up constantly, and it might be the most common source of missed connections in human relationship history. A man is around a woman he finds interesting. She seems reserved. Short answers. Maybe she looks away more than he expected. He reads it as disinterest and pulls back. She reads his pullback as rejection and she pulls back further. And what was actually mutual attraction quietly disappears under a pile of misread signals. Here is the truth. Nervousness and attraction are deeply connected. When you are genuinely drawn to someone, the emotional stakes increase. You care about the impression you are making. You become more aware of your own words, your own laugh, your own face. That heightened self-awareness produces real physiological responses. The heart actually beats faster. Breathing becomes slightly more shallow. Eye contact can feel too intense and so gets broken. Hands might become slightly restless. The voice can change subtly in pitch. In other words, genuine attraction creates nervousness. And nervousness, if you do not know what you are looking for, can look a lot like someone who does not want to be there. The key is learning to distinguish between comfortable disinterest and nervous interest. Comfortable disinterest looks like ease with emotional distance. Short answers that do not invite continuation. Physically oriented away from you. Consistent unavailability or distraction. No follow-up. No attempt to extend the interaction. A kind of flat neutrality that is pleasant but unbothered. Nervous interest looks different. There is warmth underneath the tension. She might give a short answer but then immediately ask you a question, keeping the conversation alive despite the fact that she seems flustered. She might look away but come back repeatedly because she cannot quite help it. She might laugh a little too quickly at something you said and then seem slightly embarrassed about it. She might seem to run out of words, even though she is clearly trying to say something more. There is also something specific that happens with eye contact in nervous attraction. Extended eye contact with someone you are drawn to feels extremely vulnerable. It is intimate in a way that can feel almost too much. So a woman who is genuinely attracted to you might actually break eye contact more than someone who is simply polite. Not because she is uninterested, but because holding your gaze feels like too much exposure before she is ready. The difference is that after breaking it, she comes back. Her eyes return to you. She does not stay away. The breaking and returning pattern, that oscillation between closeness and distance, is one of the most honest signals of attraction that exists. If you have ever been around someone and felt a kind of electric awkwardness between you that did not feel bad, but felt like something, like you could both feel what was happening, but neither of you was ready to say it out loud yet, that is the signal. that is nervousness in the presence of real attraction, and it deserves to be read correctly rather than walked away from. If this is making you think about a specific conversation you have had recently where you wondered whether you read the room wrong, stay with me. The next sign is going to add another piece that might fill in what you were missing. The fourth sign is how she creates closeness without admitting it. This is perhaps the most deliberate of the 5 signals, even though it often does not feel deliberate from the inside. It is what happens when attraction moves past the passive stage of simply noticing someone and into the active stage of building something with them. It is the part where she starts creating reasons for the two of you to share something. It begins with conversation. When a woman is attracted to you, she starts directing certain things specifically at you. She mentions a movie she just watched and then asks if you have seen it. She brings up something she is working through and gauges your perspective specifically. She asks you questions about your life that go beyond the surface social questions you would ask anyone. She asks what you actually think, what you actually feel about something, what you actually want for your life. These are not random conversation choices. They are invitations. She is creating content between the two of you that is specifically yours. Shared references, shared opinions, small inside moments that only exist between you and her. Psychologically, this is how humans build intimacy, through accumulation of shared experience and shared meaning. And she is doing it deliberately, even if she could not fully articulate why. The other version of this is what you might call manufactured proximity. She finds reasons to be where you are, not in an overwhelming way, just consistently. She shows up at the coffee shop you mentioned you like. She happens to be available for the group activity you suggested. She reaches out with something that is technically a practical question, but is really just a reason to talk to you. The practical content of the message almost does not matter. The message itself is the message. She wanted contact with you and created a reason for it. This is also expressed through the way she invests in your world. She watches something you mentioned you love and then comes back with thoughts about it. She looks into something you're passionate about so she can talk to you about it meaningfully. She pays attention to your interests not because she has to, but because being genuinely engaged with the things you care about is a way of being closer to you. There is also a version of this that appears in how she makes you feel seen. When someone is attracted to you, they often put effort into making sure you feel understood and valued by them specifically. She remembers things. She references things you said weeks ago. She validates your feelings, your thoughts, your experiences in a way that feels specific to you, not generic. She is building a version of herself in your memory as someone who truly sees you. Because being seen and valued by the person you are drawn to is one of the most powerful desires in human social experience. On the other side, she will also create small opportunities for you to see her, not in a performative way, in a revealing way. She shares something personal that she did not have to share. She lets you see her in an unguarded moment. She tells you something that makes her a little vulnerable because she is testing whether you will hold it carefully. All of this, the shared content, the manufactured proximity, the investment in your world, the moments of mutual visibility, adds up to one thing. She is building closeness, intentionally and incrementally, without ever having to say the thing that would make it undeniably obvious. When you recognize this pattern in someone, you are watching a person actively choose you in a language that is careful but unmistakable once you know how to listen for it. Before we get to the fifth sign, which I want to give the most space to because it is the most complex and most meaningful, I want to check in with you. If you are watching this and thinking of a specific person, someone whose behavior you are suddenly reading differently, you are not alone. Drop a comment with which sign hit closest to home for you, because I genuinely want to hear it, and I know the comment section on this video is going to be full of people who have a story about one of these signals. That section alone is worth reading. Now, the fifth sign. The fifth sign is the deepest signal of all, and it genuinely changes everything about how you understand attraction. It is this. She starts treating your emotional world like it matters to her. Let me explain what that means, why it is significant, and how to recognize it. All of the previous four signs live primarily in the realm of behavior. Attention, body language, nervousness, proximity creating. These are all things you can observe from the outside. They are real and they are meaningful, but they mostly describe how someone acts. The fifth sign describes something that lives deeper than action. It describes how someone feels and how that feeling reorganizes their emotional priorities. When a woman is genuinely attracted to you on a real, substantial level, the quality and well-being of your emotional experience starts to matter to her in a way that goes beyond social courtesy. Here is what that looks like. She notices when your mood has shifted before you say a word about it. You had a rough day and you have not mentioned anything, but she asks, not generically, not with the automatic "are you okay" that people say in passing, but specifically. She asks in a way that communicates that she has actually been watching, that she noticed something was different, and that she genuinely wants to know how you're doing. She remembers the difficult things you mentioned and follows up. You told her 2 weeks ago that you had a stressful situation at work. She comes back to it unprompted, not because it is her business, but because it was a real thing in your life and your life has become something she is emotionally tracking. She advocates for you, even when you are not around. She speaks well of you to others not because she has to, but because the way you are perceived matters to her. She defends you in situations where she did not have to get involved. She looks out for you in ways that are not transactional. She is not keeping score. She is acting from genuine care that has grown out of genuine attraction. She is also genuinely happy when good things happen to you. Not in the polite surface way where someone says that is great and immediately moves on. In the way where your good news actually lights up her face. Where she asks follow-up questions because she wants to understand what it means to you, not just what happened. Where your happiness produces something like happiness in her because she is emotionally invested in your experience. She is bothered when you are struggling, not in a codependent way, not in a way that makes your emotional state her responsibility, but in the way that genuine care for another person creates a kind of emotional resonance. When you are not okay, something in her is not fully okay either. That is not a burden. That is what it feels like to matter to someone. This is the signal that most men miss most completely, not because they're not paying attention, but because they are not expecting it. We have been taught to look for attraction in the exciting, visible, cinematic moments. The long eye contact, the dramatic moment, the obvious flirtation, and all of those things can be real. But the deepest form of attraction, the kind that is moving towards something real and lasting, looks like this. Like someone quietly rearranging their emotional interior to make room for you. Like your life becoming part of the landscape they care about. Like your well-being becoming something that matters to them, not because they decided it should, but because it just does. There's something else that happens at this level of attraction that is worth naming. She becomes protective of your trust. If you have shared something personal with her, she keeps it. She does not use your vulnerabilities against you. She does not casually mention the things you told her in private to others. She holds what you give her with care because you have started to mean something to her, and what you give her reflects that meaning back. She also pushes you forward. She encourages you when you are hesitating. She believes in you in situations where you're not sure you believe in yourself. She does not do this because it is her job. She does it because watching you succeed, seeing you grow, knowing that something she said contributed to a good choice you made, those things feel genuinely rewarding to her because she is emotionally invested in who you are and who you are becoming. Now here is why this fifth signal is the most important one. Anyone can be physically attracted to you. Anyone can find you interesting for an afternoon. Physical attraction fades. Surface interest disappears. But when a woman starts caring about your emotional experience, when she starts tracking your well-being, advocating for you, being genuinely affected by your happiness and your struggle, that is not just attraction. That is the beginning of something that has real weight. That is what the other four signals are pointing toward in their best possible direction. So when you are reading the room, when you're trying to understand whether what is happening between you and someone is real, this is the deepest thing to look for. Not just does she notice me, not just does her body turn toward mine, but does she care about my actual experience? Does my emotional world register in hers? If the answer is yes, you are holding something worth taking seriously. The most important thing I can tell you about responding to genuine attraction signals is this: meet them with presence, not performance. What that means is that when you recognize that someone is genuinely interested in you, the right response is not to immediately recalculate your strategy. It is not to start presenting the best curated version of yourself in order to lock in what she is showing. It is to become more honest, more present, and more real with her. Because here is what happens when genuine interest meets performance. She is showing you something real. She is exposing something genuine about her interior experience. And if what she gets back is a polished performance designed to impress her, there is a disconnect. She is being real. You are being strategic. And that asymmetry is what creates the weird tension that makes promising things fall apart. When someone shows you real interest, the most powerful thing you can do is receive it genuinely and respond in kind. Be curious about her. Ask real questions. Share real things about yourself. Create real moments rather than impressive ones. Let what is happening between you matter to you. Because if it does, she is going to feel that. And what she feels from you is going to matter enormously. There is also something important to say about patience here. Real attraction takes time to become real connection. The signals we have talked about today are signs that something has already begun growing between two people. But beginning is not the same as established. The most valuable thing you can do when you recognize these signals is not to rush toward a defined outcome. It is to invest in the connection itself. Keep showing up. Keep being genuinely interested. Keep creating shared experience. Let it breathe and develop at a natural pace rather than forcing it to declare itself before it is ready. Pressure collapses genuine connection, but consistent, warm, honest presence feeds it. And the thing that was being signaled quietly will eventually find its voice. There is one more thing I want to say before we close out, and it is perhaps the most human thing in this whole video. Being genuinely attracted to someone is vulnerable. For anyone. For her. For you. The reason these signals are often quiet and coded rather than obvious and direct is that they exist in the space before certainty. She is showing you who she is drawn to before she knows what you are going to do with that information. That requires courage. It requires a kind of hope. When you understand these signals, you're not gaining power over someone. You're gaining the ability to honor something real that is being offered to you. You are gaining the awareness to see a person who is doing something brave in a quiet way and to respond to that with the care and presence it deserves. That is what this is really about. Not strategy, not advantage, clarity, connection, the ability to recognize when something real is happening and to walk toward it with your eyes open. Do not wait too long. Show up. Be real. Let her know that you see her. Because the most powerful response to someone who is quietly signaling that you matter to them is simply, clearly, honestly letting them know that they matter to you too. That is where it begins. Everything good comes from there. Thank you for watching this all the way through. If this gave you clarity about someone in your life or about yourself, that is worth something. Share it with someone who needs it. Drop a comment telling me which sign you recognized most. And if you want more content like this, content that actually goes deep on human connection, attraction, and the psychology of real relationships, subscribe and stay with us because we are just getting started.